I mean, maybe not in 1997, but like, if a housekeeper walks into my hotel room and I have my laptop open, I think that's like a perfectly normal thing.
It was more than just a laptop, though.
Unless,
It was a whole.
it
It
depends
was a
what I
whole.
have on my laptop.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not normally into that type of thing. What you saw on there is not reflective of my normal
See, a
interests.
friend sent me a link and I opened it accidentally.
We're in international waters. I thought, why not experience? Please don't tell anybody about this.
I finally watched. I finally watched. I finally watched. I finally watched. I finally watched.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of I Finally Watched. I'm Alon.
And this is David, and today we finally watched Speed 2 Cruise Control.
So, I think you want to know why out of all the movies we could have done. So first of all, we're really honing on sequels of movies that we've already done in the past on this podcast. Hence, the week before this, we put out First Blood Part 2. And then right before that, we did the first one. But I decided, hey, we need to go back through our filmography, find movies that have sequels, and do them this month. Out of all those movies, I chose Speed as one of them, which led us down this road. David, Speed 2 Cruise Control. Would you like to know finally the reason why specifically this movie?
Yeah, I need to know.
Okay. So, apart from the absolute killer Willem Dafoe meme face he
Yeah,
makes,
that is that the start?
I think that's the start. Yeah, it has to be. Although I was watching him, so Taylor and I, and I also told you this, that we were looking on, I believe was it Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb? No, it was Letterboxd. Letterboxd was having a list of like the top like most watched actors of 2024, 2025.
Okay.
And the number one most watched actor was Willem Dafoe. And we were all kind of flabbergasted because yeah, he's in a lot of stuff and more recently, but also like the most watched above Timothy, above, Dave Bautista and everyone like that. And he's in a lot of fucking movies. Just randomly in a lot of fucking movies. And we're watching this, Willem Dafoe's in this, and Taylor and I are like, what movie have we watched that recently that Willem Dafoe has been in? For some reason, I turned on Harrison Ford's Clear and Present Danger, the Jack Ryan series with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's in it.
He-
He's a main dude.
You know what's what's interesting is he plays a great, like, he has that maniacal smile for a bad guy.
Yeah.
But watching this today, it's like I think I like him more as like a good guy, like the guy that helps out John Wick, or like, I don't know. I I like him in his Wes Anderson stuff. When he's just a straight, he's the bad guy of a movie. He's great in this, but there's part of me that's like, I don't know, is it working for me?
Well, I think instead of like, I see what you're saying, but I think that's the kind of the beautiful thing about Willem Dafoe is that if he's playing a straight bad guy or a straight good guy, it's not as interesting as if he's playing someone who's in the morally gray.
Right.
Like in Boondock Saints, right? He's in the morally gray. He's like a cop, right? But he also has, stuff going on and he's against our boys in that movie. So kind of playing as an antagonist. And then in Clear and Present Danger, he's like a smuggler turned good. Spoilers for Clear and Present Danger, Harrison Ford.
Son of
He
a
turn
bitch.
he turns good in the end, right? He was like trying to walk that
Okay,
line.
can you stop spoiling Clear and Present Danger for me?
And you should have watched it. I saw a tweet today that was like, if the media is over 10 years old, it's not a spoiler anymore.
I don't know. Can you get to the point of why we did this fucking movie?
Yeah, of course, of course, of course. So there's these guys on YouTube that do like special effects and CGI stuff, and they analyze films that do like cool CGI special effects stuff. They were analyzing the last scene in this movie, one of the last scenes of this movie, where the cruise ship wrecks into the harbor, wrecks into
Yeah,
the
yeah.
town, and they're trying to decide how they did it. Was it miniature? Was it CGI? And I'll tell you what it is. Ready?
It was
It
pretty
was
real.
it was all practical. They
Yeah.
built that entire harbor just for this movie, and they actually crashed an actual ship into it. The only thing that was CGI is that the ship that they crashed into it, the hull, like the front of the ship that hits the dock and the buildings and everything,
Yeah.
that's built. But the like it wasn't that big. Like the CGI was used to make it as big as a cruise liner, really.
Yeah, I mean it looked like a small cruise liner, right? Cuz like when you see, like one of those kind of like more intimate ones where you're not going to have as many people on your ship. Like if you go on like a carnival, there's like thousands and thousands of people, you're like in a little city.
Yeah.
This didn't look to be that. I actually thought so first of all that last shot of it going into the island of St. Martin that took cost 25 million, I read. The
Yep.
entire first speed cost 30. I thought it looked great. I thought the explosion of the tanker at the end was
Yes.
CGI. I was like, that looks really good.
That looks really good. Yeah.
And you've seen some bad CGI. Like the worst to me, there's an explosion in the Wolverine origin movie that
Oh
looks
yeah, yeah, yeah.
particularly bad, and I'm like,
I thought
what are we doing?
I thought you were talking about this movie because funny enough, all the accompanying CGI in this movie is also really bad. When the cruise liner rubs against the side of the tanker, I thought was pretty bad.
You could tell it wasn't the worst. I was like, for what, 30, almost 30 years old. I was like, it's not horrible.
It's not horrible, but it's not great. And then the anchor looked like shit.
Yeah, it's to me though. I was like sort of impressed with how not bad it looked. Yeah, it's kind of weird to think about this movie because you're like, this is a sequel that shouldn't have been made.
Sure.
So you're like, oh, this is just a poorly made movie, and then you like, oh no, it wasn't. This movie was a $120 million movie. They
Yep.
were trying to make a big, good movie, and I kind of want to talk now about, I guess I'm skipping the end of my point, but like a lot of the stuff that's done in this movie is really great, but there has to be some blame for why this movie sucks. And to me, and I guess you can have a difference of opinion, but to me, I think it all comes down to the studio. This movie should have never been made. I think it's
This is like
nearly,
like a greedy cash grab sort of thing, right?
which didn't work. But I mean, this is a movie. The first speed is such a conceptually great idea, but it's a one off. The idea that Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves are going to get into another situation like this just means that the second movie's going to suck. To the point where
Mm,
Keanu read that second script and was like, "Oh no, I'm not doing that because that's
bold
bad."
bold move for Sandra Bullock.
Well, so she did this apparently, one, for the paycheck, and then two, to get Hope Floats made.
Oh,
And then Jason Patrick agreed to do the movie, one, because he asked for some serious rewrites that they said they would do. So then he signed on, and then he gets to filming, and they made no changes whatsoever, and he's contractually locked in. So then he took that money to make his next movie. I forget what it's called. And so
why did
everyone is
Willem
like,
Dafoe do it?
I think Willem Dafoe is kind of down to do anything that he's like, you know what? Maybe this won't be great, but this will showcase Willem Dafoe. Similar to like
I feel
Boondock
like Willem
Saints.
Dafoe. Well, that too. Yeah, that's true. But I think Willem Dafoe is like Nick Cage in that regard. That he's like, look, it might not be the best, most well written movie, but I got a thing going on and I'm going to do my thing and no one can stop me to do my thing and people are going to see my thing and that's all I really care about.
Well, are you talking about his dick? Like, what do you mean? Why do you keep saying his dick?
No, I just like Willem Dafoe has like like his thing, and then Nick Cage
I've
has
heard it's
like,
pretty big. Yeah.
and then Nick Cage, has his own way of acting, and to showcase it like that in any way that he wants, right? Like, I don't know what happened in the audition room, but like when you cast Willem Dafoe, you're expected a certain facial expression to go along with it, right? And
I think
so
that's what won him the part.
that's what I'm saying though. It's like, hey, you know that thing you do, Willem Dafoe? Yeah. Well,
Do that.
do that. Do
Do
whatever you
that.
want. I turn it up to 1,000. I don't care. And then you know what? I would take that. I would take any movie if the director let me do that.
Do you know who they wanted for this and turned it down? We
Hmm.
normally do this at the end. I figured we'd knock it out now.
For the Willem Dafoe part.
Yeah, so they offered it to Gary Oldman, and he turned it down to do Air Force One.
Okay, because this would have been more of a like Leon the Professional type of Gary Oldman, right?
And then I guess I read somewhere that this was written briefly for Robin Williams, but he was committed
Oh,
to too many other things.
yeah, like
But I
not
think
being in a bad movie.
I don't think he's like I'm committed to not doing that. I don't think this works for Robin Williams because Robin Williams, I think as we like I've said before, he has this thing where it's like he does comedy. I guess he's done dark comedy too, but I just think that the tone of this is so weird that it doesn't work for Robin Williams. It,
Well, there's a lot of problems with this. I think the best way to address it is to go through with it.
no,
To go.
no, I don't. Well, hold on. I want to do this first. Given that, like the studio decided to make the movie, what is the worst part of this movie to you?
I think it's like the first part. It's like the beginning middle. I feel like it's so slow to get started, and you're trying to figure out. Okay, well, two things. All right, two things that really bother me about the movie. One is our main characters, Sandra Bullock and Jason Patrick. They have no like chemistry together, right? The whole time I miss Keanu, and Sandra Bullock's character is not the same character in Speed One. Like she's almost playing like she's auditioning for Miss Congeniality in this, where she's like kind of like when she's driving, she's like kind of disheveled and like, oh, I'm just quirky and I don't know what I'm doing, And she's like, I'm just, and I mean, she is hot. All right, don't get me wrong, she's very good looking, but her entire personality was very annoying. And then Jason Patrick doesn't have any riz, any suaveness. Like I thought a cool twist to this movie because somehow they're trying to be like, oh, Geiger and Alex Shaw know each other and they know they're on this boat together, right? I was like, oh, is he gonna be a secret bad guy? And the whole movie is gonna kind of switch to Sandra Bullock saving everyone and getting out of this.
They didn't know each other.
They did.
No,
So then why did when Geiger set up that explosive in his room, did the computer say goodbye, Alex?
I don't. Yeah, I don't know what you're referring to, but he's in the beginning of this was like, "Hey, who's that guy? You know, you're talking to your boyfriend over there." And she's like, "His name is Geiger. He's very nice." And then he's like, "Well, you know, he had those golf clubs, but he's not even watching the thing." Like, I don't know what you're referring to because maybe it's something I missed, or maybe it's something you're misinterpreting. But I don't know. I thought the movie's pretty clear they don't know each other.
Hmm.
I think Alex noticed that this guy was weird and a little bit out of place because he's a detective. When I was asking what do you think's the worst part of this movie, Jason Patrick is not the worst actor in the world. I think he was tasked with doing something that's like basically don't show it's like the tone of this movie is kind of very jokey and less like I don't know, it's less thrilling than the first one.
I
But
thought it
then
was just slow. I thought it was just
but,
like really slow to get to the fucking point.
but then he's playing like a very straight character with no comedic chops whatsoever. He's not funny, he doesn't crack a smile, but the rest of
No.
the movie is trying to lead with humor, and he has 0, which is
Well,
it's
especially at
very
the end.
odd.
There's like this gag at the end of the movie where the cruise ship is crashed into the town and the anchor falls and crushes this dude's car,
Yeah,
and the dog like comedically pops its head up,
but
right? And
which
then
is gonna happen.
which it's gonna happen, and then Dante the photographer is like the comedic relief along with like the
What about the
I
fat
forget
people?
the steward guy who like goes to the rooms and gets knocked out with the golf clubs by Willem Dafoe
Yeah,
and the
but then,
fat
like,
people.
yeah.
Yeah,
So, the other thing too is, like, Willem Dafoe is a very undefined villain.
that too.
His motivation is, like, it's there, but there's this subtlety that I think is a little too subtle where it's like he's purposely trying to not hurt people, but the movie doesn't really go to great lengths to sort of show you that, but you sort of get that. He tries to get everyone to evacuate, right? And
I guess.
he knocks that, well, he does. He's like, everyone has 15 minutes to evacuate. And then once he thinks everyone's evacuated, their timer is up. He's like, all right, well, now I'm going to crash it into the land. And to me, that was like, oh, he wants to sort of hide his tracks, I guess. Like,
But he is stealing the diamonds.
yeah. But like, is
Yeah.
that what he's doing? Because it's not really spelled out
It's not
enough
really spelled out, and also like the diamonds thing seems like, you know how like especially in this era, villains are like, yeah, I'm doing this because I want to make a political statement, but then secretly is like actually stealing $1 million from Fort Knox, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the real motive. And then so in this he's like, hey, I was screwed over by the ship company of like making all this shit and doing all this shit and getting no credit for it, and I'm like taking it back. I'm showing you guys, who's the guy. But that's not real. That he just wants the diamonds. But that like which motivation is more important to him? That's the unclear part.
Well, he takes the diamonds, but then like when she takes the diamonds out of the plane and throws them, he has no reaction to that
A little bit. I was thinking, "Oh, why did she do that?" I was like, "Oh, maybe she did that thinking he can't take off
without his diamonds.
without his diamonds, but he does."
Yeah, which he shows no reaction to. I mean, I think part of his motivation was, yeah, I'll take these diamonds, but I'm also going to crash this ship. This is the thing I built. I built the entire computer system for this, and they're taking it away from me. So there's that part of it. Like the villain Defoe is great. The writing around him is bad. I think overall the writing is the issue here, and the problem being that first of all, this is not as bad of a movie as like you would be led to believe, right? Like if this wasn't called Speed, you're like, oh, that's just a fine whatever movie. But
Right.
it's not. It's called Speed 2. I think the I think the writing was sort of an impossible task, but I think in order to fix this, I told you I was going to do this. I think the marketing around this had to be it's just Sandra Bullock. And
I think you're right.
I think she needs to be the main heroine. I
Yep.
think if she has a love interest that isn't Keanu, you need to make it a guy who doesn't work for the same fucking SWAT captain as
I broke up
Keanu
with him.
Reeves.
Hey, I broke up with him because his job is way too dangerous, Mister. You lied to me about your job being equally as dangerous.
Let's go on a cruise. Yeah, cruise will fix everything. I mean, obviously she really likes this guy because there's some points where she's like, "Oh yeah, we shouldn't go forward, right?" And then like kind of looks at him wanting him to make the move and he's like, "Yeah, I guess you're right, whatever." But like she's dating this guy who works with Keanu, but we don't get to see Keanu. It's fucking
Right.
weird.
It
And then
is
she
weird.
and then they're retconning the end of the movie that we loved. We're like, oh, these two, they're like, oh, people in hostile situations, like the relationships like that don't turn out well or whatever. I forget the quote. They say it's 17 times in this movie. But we believed in that love at the end. And then she's just like, yeah, it didn't work out. He's too crazy for me. He was getting hurt too much. And so I just
But that's
broke
not
up with
even
him.
true about Keanu Reeves' character. Keanu Reeves' character got into a tough situation because he
He saved her fucking life. He wasn't the
okay.
reason she got into that situation either. And he saved her fucking life.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the the way he got into the speed situation is because he stopped a guy earlier in the movie that entrapped him into that situation. He wasn't looking to be in that situation, right? It wasn't it didn't pin his character as a daredevil, right? It
Yeah.
was just circumstances led him to be that way. But now she's saying, "Oh, like he's always trying to like what he pissed off another villain and trapped him on a fucking
I guess he's just
RV. Like I
constantly
don't know
he's
what's happening.
yeah, I don't know. And then you're supposed to like this Jason Patrick character, right?
I don't.
But he has to know he works with the guy who has dated this woman, right? Like there has to be some explanation that they so in having that little like Mac, cameo at the beginning, the guy who was Keanu's boss in the first one,
Yeah.
you've completely made your new male character unlikable. Like in reality, you should have had Annie move to San Francisco and start dating a guy there, and then she's like, "Fuck, I'm dating another SWAT guy again." That would have been cool, I guess, but like unnecessary in my world where you're just like, she's the
Well,
heroine.
he lied to her.
Yeah,
He said he was like a traffic cop,
he was a beach guy. He,
beach guy.
yeah, a beach cop.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
lied
So he lied to her, and then and that was like they were like, "Well, when were you gonna tell me?" And he's like, "Yeah, today."
on the
I was like, "Oh,"
cruise,
he's like, "Oh, this must be." I was like, "This must be like really new, like maybe like a month into it or a couple weeks into their dating." No, David, it was 7 months into them dating.
and he's gonna propose. So
It's
this
insane.
is a Jesse's girl situation where he saw Keanu. He's probably been out like yeah, it's just weird. It is weird writing. So I think
But
if
then
you
he's not even likable. Like you said, he doesn't have a comedic thing about him. He plays this like very vanilla straight man, and he's just like there's no personality, no riz, no pizzazz, and it's boring.
but the thing is like so you've seen Jason Patrick, he was the bad guy in The Losers, right? I don't think he's necessarily the greatest actor ever, but he's
Oh,
playing a kind of a crazy villain in that movie. And in this, he like I feel like he had to be told by the director, do not crack a fucking smile. Read your lines. Just like nothing cool about you. Just like you're just a guy. And
he kind of
it's
reminds me
stupid.
of like the blasé Steven Dorff.
Yeah, I know you said that off the pod. I
No, I just mean in the sense that like you're gonna work him up to be like the main guy, or in Steven Dorff's case for Blade, you're gonna work him up to be the main bad guy, but then it's like I've never seen this guy in my life.
you saw The Losers. You made me do The Losers.
Yeah, but I don't recognize him from the Losers, and he's definitely not the same character. He's not.
Yeah.
He's not very recognizable.
The other like writing mistake in this is you have to have like a very good reason that isn't her shitting on Keanu Reeves as to why they're not together anymore. Like I had to move
Well,
back
because
across
then it
the
makes her unlikable.
I guess, which just makes you like, oh, you're shitting on the first movie that I loved. That's the problem. Is I love Speed, and you're just like, yeah, it wasn't that great.
Well,
They're
what about
they're
the ending? What about the ending of this movie where she takes the driving course again and she almost gets like sideswiped by a bus and she's like, "Oh, that bus is going way too fast," which is like what they're doing, right? Like
yeah,
they're basically flipping you off with like, "Hey, fuck Speed 1."
I mean, not really. That's more of an homage to it. By the way, there are 4 people who were in Speed who are in Speed 2. Do you know who those people were?
Uh his police chief, the
Yes,
SWAT chief, Sandra Bullock,
yes.
the guy with the mustache?
Who's the guy with the mustache?
No. Who was in Speed 1 that's in this? Okay, that's it. Who's the other two?
Maurice, the black guy with the boat at the end.
What?
Yeah, he was on the bus. He even says like, "I've got a lot of trauma from dealing with you people."
Oh my god. Did she wait, was there ever like did she recognize him at all or ever say anything in the movie?
Oh, she just not. She gets on his boat and not like, "Oh, hey, Maurice."
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, she was going through a lot right there, but yeah, that would have maybe been a nice line to be like,
Oh,
"What the?"
that's why his character, because I turned on the cap. Oh, that's another thing I want to say. The sound mixing and sound design in this movie is fucking awful. Like there's like a part where the music is playing and they're talking and you can't hear a fucking word they're saying. The music is so loud. And same with that fucking horn on the cruise ship. So fucking loud
Yeah,
over over dialogue. I had to turn on captions. It showed Maurice talking. I was like, when did we ever learn this motherfucker's name, right? And then his girlfriend, that's also on the boat, she's just woman.
yeah, we don't need to know her name. She's just a woman that's like, "Wee," as they're high speed chase. The last
So
person,
who's the fourth guy? Yeah,
the last person is it's a woman, and she in the first one was the woman who was afraid to get out of the elevator, and she's pulled out right before her legs get chopped off. And in this movie, I believe she's the woman who's like, "I want a fucking cigarette" to her husband. In
when?
in the beginning, she's like, "Oh, I need a cigarette," like, and he's like, "Oh no, you'll be fine. What about the patches?" And she's like, "Unless I can eat those patches directly or
Oh,
smoke
unless
them."
I can roll them up and smoke them,
Yeah,
those
yeah,
patches aren't doing shit for me.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that. So how did they all end up on the same fucking Caribbean?
Well, so Maurice bought a boat on an island. I mean, Sandra Bullock's obvious, and then the captain was in the first one. The woman, it's unclear if she's playing the same character. I don't think she is. But
Uh,
also, she could just happen to be on the boat, and Sandra Bullock has never met that woman in real life, so that part doesn't matter.
I
I
guess.
think I think now we can start and kind of dissect it. I would start off by saying this wasn't as bad. Like I said, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. There
Agreed.
are some definite problems. Oh, one thing real quick. So Jan de Bont did not want to make a sequel, contractually obligated to because of how well this did. Coming up with ideas, and he had, I guess, like had a bad dream about a cruise ship crashing. The other idea was a plane flying through the Andes Mountains that can't go 10,000 above 10,000 feet. So I guess the idea is being like
That's actually so much better.
on a plane is better than this because this leads to like a lot. I don't know, like
Well, you
them.
had a bus. You had a bus in the first one. You could have done a plane. You could have done a train. You could have had like a Pelham 123 sort of thing, right?
Yeah, and unstoppable.
And
Train's not bad.
unstoppable.
You know what,
Yeah.
too? I think you need like more. I don't know. You need the bad guys interacting more with our guys and like him thwarting them more, which happened in the first one. That like the overall like what's happening in this is just it's just separate people doing separate things for most of the movie, and it's more focused on like the boat destruction than this like cat and mouse game that happened in the first movie that made it so good.
Didn't the first one end on a train?
It ended in like yeah, subway
Like a
situation. Yeah,
subway station. I guess maybe if you didn't want to do that, or you could pick up where it left off in a thematic sort of way.
you could have had her being like, yeah, I don't take the bus anymore. She's like, I had to move to New York. I don't take the bus anymore, and she's on a subway.
It you should have just wrote the movie, David.
Well, anyway,
You
what
were
can
you
you
were
do?
12 years old, but what were you gonna do?
Let's talk. Well, I was 10. Let's talk about the version we got. So they did the opening credits the same way they did in Speed too, like in the first Speed.
Yep.
Yeah, which I thought, oh, maybe one of the better parts of this movie. And then the opening with the chase, clearly not Jason Patrick on that motorcycle for when it does anything like of
Well,
note.
also clearly how her driving lesson was gonna coincide with this chase, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So then we already talked about it. She finds out, oh, he's not a beach cop, and they're like, all right, to save the relationship, let's go on a cruise.
When I think speed, I think of a cruise liner.
So then we meet Defoe, looking real fucking young and good looking. The
You can just say
change,
fuckable. It's okay.
well, yeah, but he is no matter what. So the change from this movie, which what? So this came out in what, 97, I
Yeah.
believe, to was it 2002 when he is in the first Spider-Man?
Spider-Man.
He aged 30 years in between those. Yeah, 2002. So it's 5 years, and he looks so much older as Norman Osborn than he
Yeah,
did in
but
this
you know,
movie.
hair and makeup have a lot to play in that, and then also like, you were saying you don't like Willem Dafoe as a villain. What do you think of Green Goblin?
No, I just think he's able to play both, and I prefer him in the other ones. Yeah, he's great in Green Goblin. He's great as that.
Green Goblin up those nuts?
I don't.
I don't know
Okay.
what I'm doing. I don't know.
So then we get the golf club bomb thing, but that's like it's not used that much. It's like a cool thing, and they're like, how is he going to use that? And then it's just like not ever used
Well,
again in
he
the
he
movie.
he plugs it into the cruise ship, and then that's the last we see of them. Also, I don't play a lot of golf, but golf balls are not that big, right?
Wait, what?
Like those golf balls that are containing like the C4, those are like unusually large for golf balls.
Well, except no, I mean I don't know. They looked fairly normal, but also it's like those aren't actual explosives, right? Like everything he was doing, which I felt could have been explained a little better, was kind of fake. His real thing was controlling the ship, but it was a lot of like smoke, literally, figuratively, and mirrors, right? It was smoke
Smoke
and
and mirrors,
mirrors.
right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, especially like him trying to. I love the scene where he's trying to like put all the controlling things in the quarters. Where he comes in pretending to be drunk and stumbling and like slapping the bottom of the stuff, like sticking it to them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, he's good. He is good in this. So he's gonna propose. Jason Patrick's gonna propose the first night, and instead decides to get like blackout drunk, and then they go back and watch the movie Lolita while he's
Because
throwing up everywhere.
thematically, Lolita makes sense in this.
Well, because of the little
Yes.
girl who's like, "I'll be 15 next year," and you're like, "Okay, I guess that's a joke we can put in the 90s."
And then not only does she say that, but instead of him going like, "Hey, look, you're too young and I have a girlfriend," or anything like that, he goes the fucking thing that's said 15 times in the movie where it's like, "Hey, people who get together during stressful situations don't really last." I'm like, "Don't s- how about you don't say that?"
I don't know. I mean, obviously, I don't think he was gonna fuck the 14-year-old Alon. So I think he was trying to let her down nicely, which is what Sandra Bullock told him to do.
It was strange though, right? Like they're all sitting at this like table. He looks over, like he's kind of eavesdropping. I mean, she's deaf, but he's eavesdropping
He's definitely
on
eavesdropping.
on her conversation with her parents.
His eyes dropping.
He's eavesdropping. God damn it. And then she like glances over, and he like gets her attention, starts signing to her. Didn't it feel like a little behind the parents' back sort of thing?
And also, you're just like, you see some old guy signing to your 14-year-old daughter. You're like, what the fuck are you
Yeah, what
doing?
the
How
fucker?
about you
I
don't
think
talk to my daughter who's dressing like a slut? Like, leave her alone.
that's not what he thought.
That's what that dad was saying. That's
No,
what
the
that
dad
dad
was
was
saying she was
saying.
a clown. She was a clown because of her shoes,
He's like, and also
which is
cover
like,
up.
horrible parents, right?
I thought the parents died. I thought they
Oh,
went under.
they were gonna die in the
No,
lifeboat.
I thought they actually fell off the boat and went
Oh,
under.
when the two people fell back, you thought
I
those
thought it
were
was
her
them.
parents?
Yeah,
No.
I was like, oh, her parents are gone. That sucks.
Did you think that Alex and what's her face had to like adopt her in the end? They're
And
like,
then
I
yeah,
don't know about kids. I don't know if I want kids. Maybe I want kids. It's like, oh shit, we got to adopt this 12-year-old now.
well, but then in like sort of a Woody Allen situation, he's like, Sandra, why don't you just adopt her? And then 4 years from now. So yeah, after this, we go to the Fat Buster people. That happened, and then Defoe pretends to be drunk. You already talked about that, and then the skeet shooting thing. And she was like mad. She's like, "You left me in bed to go skeet shooting." And he's like, "You're fucking asleep. What do you want me to do? Like, I can't. I'm not allowed to get up early. Like, I gotta just wait on you. It's
I think
crazy."
she wanted him to have sex with her.
I'm sure there's plenty of time for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Did
but
you
not plenty of time for skeet shooting.
did you
It's a
think
different type of skeet shooting.
skeet skeet skeet? Did you think that the other guys that were not the captain were in on it?
Oh, yeah, when he was like repeating what they were saying,
Yeah, the Scottish guy and then the other guy, what was his name?
uh, Bo-
Giuliano.
Boba Fett.
Yeah. I thought they were in. I thought they were going to be in on it. I kept waiting for it to happen. And then,
I
yeah, repeating thing, I was like, oh, he's feeding them lines. And then I was like, oh, but then he said the captain's line too. I was like, okay, so maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not, and I think he just was like, "Oh, I know what they're gonna say because in this situation, that's what they have to say."
But I also was just like, oh, the guy with the Scottish accent is a little out of place on this. But I don't know. I guess you can have like an international crew.
Oh, you had a Scottish accent guy, and the other guy had a New Zealand accent, fucking sounding like the rock guy from Thor.
I j- I just I think that would have been a cool twist, but maybe it's also so expected that it's not a cool twist, so they're just like, we're not going to do that. But
I kinda
waiting
like them
for
as
it.
good guys, though, especially the Scottish guy who's like, 12 knots, 4 knots, and he falls down. 2,
1.6,
2 knots.
1.3. So the scene where he knocks the captain over and he explains this whole thing about the copper poisoning, and then we find out about why he uses the leeches, and
Yep.
it's a weird scene, him knocking the captain over.
It's unnecessary,
Very
but no, but I mean, like, the whole copper and the blood and the leeches thing, like, you coulda just taken that out and it would've been, like, no difference, right? But him knocking and killing the captain overboard does lead to one of the best scenes where the 2 sisters come on the deck, right? Like, literally, they should have seen him killing the captain, and she's like, "Hey, captain, can you take a picture with us?" Because he's dressed up as the captain now.
yeah.
"I'm the captain now." And he's like, "Sure." And I don't know, it's such a shit-eating grin, scene-chewing scene by Willem Dafoe. It's so great.
And you think like, oh, that's as crazy as he gets until the end of it. So the explosions start happening. Little girl gets stuck in the elevator, and then Willem Dafoe comes over the speakers and is like, "Evacuate, or I'm gonna blow this fucking ship up."
The way that Drew gets out of the elevator by, like, climbing with her hands and feet up to the grate, getting through the elevator shaft, climbing through the door. I was like thinking that it was gonna happen like in Speed, where the door like closes, and I was like, it's not that kind of movie. And then I'm like, dude, if Drew was the main character, I would have been way okay with this movie.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. I mean, I thought that was a little bit improbable that a 14-year-old could do that, but you know,
MacGyvery, yeah.
yeah. So she gets out. The husband is willing to leave without finding the daughter, and he's just like, "Oh, I assume she's on one of the other lifeboats. Let's just get out of here."
Yeah,
And then
horrible parents.
I thought they died. Then Alex jumps to save Dante. They have to get all pulled back in. That whole lifeboat scene, I just did not care about. I was like, okay, can we just? I was like, it was hard to see. It was hard to follow what's happening. I thought the wrong people died. Like, I didn't think that was a great scene.
Well, then Sandra Bullock's like, bring over the gangplank. I'm like, how the fuck does she know what she doesn't know how to drive, but
She
she
didn't
knows
know
what a
what
gangplank is?
she didn't know
Yeah,
what
she doesn't know what
starboard was.
starboard is. Yeah, and she's like, hey,
Starboard?
what would you have said instead of a gangplank? I would have said like ramp, right?
I don't know. I mean, she knows some stuff. That's just one of the things she knows.
I don't like it.
So then they're like, let's flood the ship to slow it down. There's some people stuck in one section. Sandra Bullock's going to take care of that. How does she take care of it? She finds on a ship not one, but 2 chainsaws. Why are there chainsaws on this ship?
I was telling Taylor while we were watching this, I was like, if this just all of a sudden turned into an Evil Dead movie, I'd be perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, but unfortunately. So then, as they're flooding the ship, he sees the little girl, goes to save her.
We also have to mention that the reason she had to get those people out via chainsaw is because there was like poisonous gas filling in the other room, and they were okay. Here's a great point of topic we should discuss. What the fuck is up with those passengers who they're taking off their clothes? They're trying to like stop the gas from coming into the gate, and the one guy is like, "Why isn't she taking off any clothes?" And she's like, "Because I don't have any underwear on." And he's like being a perv about it. I'm like, also, they're fat, right? Like, can't they just sit in front of the gate, like the grates? Like, doesn't that solve it?
Yeah, I don't know what them being fat had to do with that. I think normal sized people could have done that too. But
And they
I
fill out more
also
space. I don't know.
also is like, was that actually poisonous gas, or is that just like fucking, like non-poison, you know what I mean? Just like fucking some sort of like effect that he was using. You know what I
But
mean?
what was with the sexual tension where she was like, "I'm not wearing any panties."
I think it's just a fucking line in a movie. It's like a line in a blockbuster movie. I don't even understand how all those people know each other.
Well, the other line is that she chainsaws an opening for them to get through, and she's like, "Can you get through?" And they're like, "If you move out of the way with your fucking chainsaw."
Yeah, that was their one of their attempts at comedy, which I thought, it's whatever. It wasn't the best. Wasn't the best.
Well, that's her like acting like Miss Congeniality, which I was so confused on her character. I was just like, because that is not the way she was in the first movie, right? Like, am I remembering incorrectly?
I think you're judging a bit harshly. Yeah, I think she was Sandra Bullock in the first movie, and she's Sandra Bullock in the second movie. I think tonally, the movie's a little more comedic than the first. I think the first is just a better movie. So that's part of it.
Yeah.
So Defoe realizes the boat is off course. So in his fucking AI computer, he types modify course to compensate. And it's like, yep, got it.
Oh, not only that, at the end, like towards the end of the movie, where he's like opening and closing doors, you notice he actually writes the word "open." Like
No,
it's not a selection on a screen where it's like, okay, open. He types an OPEN, and the door's like, okay, and it just opens.
it was, yeah, the technology was a little weird. They break him out of the grenade trap, which he's like, oh yeah, at one point Jason Patrick's like, stop, put the computer down. He's like, okay, let me type 50 characters
Yeah,
as I set it down.
yeah.
Yeah. So then they're gonna go into the oil tanker, and then this is when you find out that like the busboy guy is actually alive because he went into the room and saw the computers and everything, and you think maybe Geiger killed him. So when you see him alive, you're like, oh, okay, this guy's not really trying to kill anybody. He's doing his best.
Also, I think it was just a little overreacting because I think you can. I mean, maybe not in 1997, but like if a housekeeper walks into my hotel room and I have my laptop open, I think that's like a perfectly normal thing.
It was more than just a laptop, though.
Unless
It was
what
a
I
whole.
it
It
depends
was a
what I
whole.
have on my laptop.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not normally into that type of thing. What you saw on there is not reflective of my normal
See, a
interests.
friend sent me a link and I opened it
We're in,
accidentally.
we're in international waters. I thought, why not experiment? Please don't tell anybody about this. So Annie and Alex come up with the plan to stop the rudder, and she's she's pulling him back in as he gets tangled up, and then Defoe comes and like stops her. She's like, let him go.
It's pretty great. Actually, that is probably one of the best scenes of the movie
And
because
then
there's
she
like
like
high
pretends
stakes
and
to it.
falls. She pretends and falls and hits it, so it brings him back in.
You know what? If Willem Dafoe can pretend and fall and type in 50 things into a keyboard, she can hit a button, you know?
Also, when that thing broke off, I thought it was gonna rip Giuliano's arm straight the fuck off, and then it's just like because they filmed it in such a way where like, oh, his arm's gone, like he's fucked, and
Well,
then it's
no,
like,
he
oh,
also filmed it.
it's a flesh wound.
He's like, that's the thing too. Everyone acts so fucking calm in this movie. Like the whole fucking, like people die and everything. And they're like, oh man, oh shit, oh goddamn,
We're
damn.
about to get to my favorite death. So after this, they're like, oh, we're running, we can't really stop this anymore. So they start throwing one anchor down. This is after Sandra Bullock and Willem Dafoe escape on what I thought was a boat. It turns out it's two jet skis connected by like a fucking, I don't know what that is. I don't know if that even exists in real life. I've never seen that before. Maybe that's a thing. So
What do
then
you
he's like,
call, what do you call, wait, what do you call a motorbike with like a sidecar in it? That's a name for something, right?
well, they say like you're riding bitch is like the non
No, but that's
PC.
like when you're riding the sidecar. But it's almost like a jet ski sidecar where
They're both
you,
jet skis though.
they're both jet
It's
skis.
two jet skis. It would be as if two motorcycles are connected by like a metal pipe that's just like, all right, you have to ride together. Yeah, it was weird. So then he's like, hey, we got to stop the boat. We'll drop the anchor. And it's like, that didn't do shit. And then they start hitting into boats. I think they kill all the people on that first boat, but you don't see it because Jan de Bont was like, hey, we made so much money with the first Speed being rated R. Let's make this one PG-13 and we'll make even more money, which did not happen. But so then they start telling people to get out of the way, but these boats are stopping them. The momentum is enough to stop this cruise ship, which I find
I guess.
a little suspect.
He's also flooding, right? Like they're flooding the bottom compartments,
Well, they did.
and then yeah, but they're still flooded.
Yeah,
So
so
like
then
that's slowing them down, and then something else I think is slowing them down.
no, they did like the reverse thruster thing to turn them to the side.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how they barely missed the boat, which I thought that part was cool. And then they start heading for the island, and yeah, the anchor won't stop them, and they get on the PA to like tell them to get the fuck out of the way. That little boy was the director's son,
What
and
little
they did
boy?
not. They did not. The little boy that's like, oh, that's a big ship,
Oh,
mommy. The ship's getting closer, and then the fucking realtor just runs. Is like, you two are on your own. I'm not helping you guys at all. He just fucking takes off. My favorite death in the movie is the little red truck driver who's just like honking at everyone as he drives, and then the ship just destroys him. It's like, why is everyone running and like just honking, and then like almost honking at the ship to stop? Like, I have
My
the right of
favorite-
way. I have
my
the right of way.
my favorite. I don't even think it resulted in a death, but it was the black woman on the telephone booth, and
Yeah.
on the payphone, and she's like, "Why can't I hear you? Why can't I hear you? Hello, hello." And then like I don't know, it reminded me of something of that like the first Jurassic World, where it's like an amusement park,
Yeah.
but she looks up as the ship's hull is like passing her, and it just kind of like the camera just leaves her. But I just thought it was such a great shot.
Yeah. So then the boat stops. You're like, oh, this is over. And then it starts tilting. You're like, what the fuck? Like, I thought we were done. And then it like barely tilts. And like, okay, now it's done.
If so we already explained how they built this entire uh like port city, right?
Yeah.
If you look into the buildings being destroyed, you see that there's nothing in those buildings. That it's just like wood and nails.
I thought it was pretty good though.
No, it was pretty good, but like especially when the boat tips over and knocks into that one building, you can see inside it that it's just four walls and a roof.
Yeah. So she releases Defoe's Sea-Doo, and then but she then just drives straight to the the escape plane. Like, she didn't help herself out at all. She just keeps going in the same direction, and
That's
they just
true.
make it to the plane. He borrows Maurice's boat, and he's like, I need you to get as close to that plane as possible. And he's like, give me a good reason. I'll throw you over if you don't. He's like, that's a good reason. Then he shoots the plane with a spear gun,
Yep.
and then reels himself in, as the woman says. That's
Yep.
what her title is. And then I don't even know what one of those things are called. The guy calls it a banana peel that falls off the plane.
Right.
And then the way Defoe just like lands on the mast of that ship, which is weird because then they're also like, oh, the way he landed on it, guess what? Now this entire tanker is going to explode for
Okay,
some
so
reason.
that was the thing too. It's like it's gonna blow, and the alarm goes off, and they all evacuate, right? And I'm sitting there watching it. I'm like, why? And then you see like the gas fuel from the plane is leaking down into the ship, and then the sparks from the destroyed plane is igniting the gas fuel, which kills Defoe, right? Like that's how he dies. But how did they know that chain reaction was going to cause the whole tanker to explode? Except for the fact that I guess you have to assume if a plane crashes anywhere on your boat that's a fuel tanker, you're going to have to be like, okay, it's probably going to explode.
Well, and it already had, some bad stuff had happened to it. So,
That's my thing. Is it the same one?
yeah, it was. It's pretty compromised at this point. They
Okay.
said, at one point they said, whoever is left on the ship, evacuate now. So, like, they had already been evacuating. And then, they pull her into the boat. She somehow doesn't recognize Maurice at all. And she's
Well,
like,
also the fact that she doesn't know how to swim. Like I know her hands are tied, but she has no like her
like,
feet
go
or
up. Yeah, let's
go
maybe
up.
go up. Yeah. just
Jesus.
up. And then she's like, "Can I make all the travel plans from now on? Because they're gonna get married. Because this is true love. What she had with Keanu was not, but this is, with this
Right.
SWAT guy, whatever."
And the movie ends just about as slowly as it started. And here's the thing, I think you're 100% right, and I think the main thing that they had to do to fix this movie above all else is make Sandra Bullock the main character hero that
And in the
does
marketing,
and
in
in
the
the
mar-
marketing.
like
Yeah.
mostly the marketing, you could have like she has to be the hero, and then you have to have a good reason why she broke up with Keanu. She probably moved across the country, and then the guy she's with, he can help out, and he can even turn out to be heroic, but it has to be like at her lead.
Like, what if he was more of a technical guy, right? Like, what if he was more of a computer guy to
And
meet
she's like, and she never wanted to break up with Keanu, but she had to, and she's like, I don't know. I keep comparing him to Keanu, and he's just not
Yes,
physically the same
yes,
man as Keanu.
exactly. Because who is? Who could be?
So apparently, so Keanu was offered 12 million to reprise his role, and he said like, oh, he wanted to do it, but the script was not good enough, and he didn't want to like be on a boat. So I guess originally when they, the final explanation is that he broke up with Annie, which received a negative reaction. So they also had to change that part, I guess.
So making her the breakuper.
I guess. It's unclear who broke up with who.
And
She makes
it's
it.
so weird that they're like, oh yeah, off screen we don't want Keanu Reeves to break up with her because it makes him unlikable. A guy who doesn't show up in the fucking movie.
So Matthew McConaughey was considered to replace him.
Oh my god, what a better movie already.
John Bon Jovi and Christian Slater. Christian Slater is the technical guy that rises
Yes, yes.
to meet Sandra
I
Bullock's
mean,
need.
even uh, McConaughey could have done that.
He could have, but he's so good looking, and like you believe he's capable.
I feel like he's been in a role like that. I just can't think of it right now, but I feel like that's a role that he's played. Dude, if they do that and they make Sandra Bullock, and you know what they could have also done too is like after the stuff that happened in Speed, she becomes more like combatant savvy. She becomes more actiony because of that,
Yeah, I mean the
and
other thing
then
is
it
you just
fits.
have
Yeah,
Keanu died. Keanu died a year after.
I think people would have been way more upset about that.
Like, what the fuck, man? Yeah. You have to make this a New York City subway movie, which probably steals a lot of like, I don't know, which Die Hard's in New York City? Is that the third one?
It's the third one, or do you call it? Do you still call it Cruise Control?
If it
I think
takes
that's
place on
hilarious. I think that's hilarious. Speed 2 Cruise Control, like the reference to like what's on a car, but it's an actual cruise.
yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, well, because it's actually not Speed 2 Autopilot, maybe doesn't have the same ring.
Speed. So what would autopilot? Speed 2 Autopilot is the one on the plane, definitely. But what would the Speed 2
Subway?
subway one be?
Coney
Off the
Island
tracks.
Express.
Speed 2 off the tracks. You're welcome.
I don't know that works. We'll keep workshopping.
Off the
We'll get
rails.
there.
Off the rails.
Off the rails. Yeah, I don't know.
Off the rails.
Well, thanks for listening to another episode of I Finally Watched. This is David.
And this is Alon, and we finally watched Speed 2 Cruise Control.
I finally watched. I finally watched.
I
Finally
watched. I
finally
watched.
I finally watched.